Atlanta has always been the kind of city where whispers travel faster than sirens, and this time those whispers weren't just casual talk, they turned into headlines that lit the internet on fire. The fight that sent Scrappy to the hospital wasn't the type of love and hip-hop scuffle that faded after a reunion episode. It wasn't the kind of argument people laughed at before moving on. This one stuck like a wound that refused to close, because when Scrappy came out of that hospital bed, he didn't just come out bruised, he came out with a decision. For the first time in his career, he wasn't going to let cameras reduce his pain to entertainment. He wasn't going to let producers spin his hospital stay into a cliffhanger. He was done playing nice. He wanted someone to answer for what happened. And that someone was Kirk Frost. The news broke before dawn, spreading like gasoline catching a spark. Every gossip blog plastered the same bold headline across their sites: Scrappy files lawsuit against Kirk Frost, love and hip-hop feud heads to court. Hashtags exploded on timelines, hashtag Scrappy vs Kirk, hashtag Frost on trial, hashtag LHHATL justice. Within hours, TikToks replayed the fight in slow motion, fans editing dramatic music over every shove and insult. One clip of Scrappy, pale as paramedics rushed him to the ambulance, was turned into a meme, circulated by people who didn't understand the gravity. And the comments? They were divided down the middle like Atlanta itself. Some mocked him, saying, "He doing too much, it's just TV." Others defended him passionately, "He almost lost his life. Kirk needs to be held accountable." Behind the scenes, the mood was different. Scrappy wasn't ranting or screaming, he was quiet, but focused in a way that unsettled everyone around him. His family tried to soothe him, begged him to heal, to put his health before the drama. But Scrappy shook his head, his voice steady, not even raising an octave. "Nah. I've been letting stuff slide my whole career. People think I'm gone, play the fool forever. Not this time. Kirk put his hands on me, and I ended up in the hospital. I'm pressing charges. I'm taking him to court." There was no rage in his tone, just cold calculation. And that kind of calmness scared people more than an outburst ever could. Across the city, Kirk Frost was pacing his living room like a man rehearsing excuses to himself. Rasheeda sat on the couch, arms folded, her face unreadable. "It wasn't that deep," Kirk muttered, almost convincing himself. "We've been fighting for years. He trying to make it bigger than it is. It's reality TV, ain't nobody gone, take it serious." But Rasheeda's eyes told the truth. She wasn't convinced. She had seen her husband pushed too far too many times. She remembered the fear in the hospital, remembered Scrappy's words before he passed out. And now, with legal papers delivered to their doorstep, she couldn't pretend this was another storyline for VH1. Her voice was low, almost a whisper. "Kirk, this ain't TV no more. He's really taking you to court. You need to face it." When the rest of the cast caught wind, the reactions were instant and messy. Yandy Smith was the first to speak publicly, posting a cryptic Instagram story. "At some point, enough is enough. Violence ain't entertainment." Fans instantly assumed she was siding with Scrappy. When Mendeecees Harris commented under the post with a simple "facts," the narrative began to shift from just a feud to something bigger: accountability. Meanwhile, young Jock went on Vlad TV trying to straddle the fence. "Man, it's crazy. I was right there, I seen both sides. I just hope they can work it out." But his attempt to stay neutral backfired. Fans called him a coward for not picking a side. The cast wasn't just divided, they were being dragged into the public court of opinion. Whether they wanted to or not, the first court date was scheduled within weeks. And even though the judge warned against turning it into a circus, producers couldn't resist. The courthouse steps turned into a paparazzi playground. Flashing cameras swarmed as Scrappy arrived first with his lawyer. Dressed in a sharp black suit, no chains, no entourage, he looked like a man on a mission. His face was calm, but his eyes carried the fire of someone tired of being underestimated. Minutes later, Kirk pulled up with Rasheeda clinging to his arm. He tried to walk with his usual swagger, but the sweat shining on his forehead betrayed his nerves. Rasheeda's grip on him was tighter than usual, her loyalty unshaken but her spirit weighed down by years of scandals that refused to die. Inside, the atmosphere was thick. The gallery was packed with bloggers tapping furiously on their phones, live-updating Twitter feeds. Producers lingered in the back rows, hiding cameras but making sure the chaos was captured. Even fans lined up outside just to catch a glimpse, their chants echoing into the halls. And at the center of it all, Scrappy and Kirk sat at separate tables, locked eyes, not saying a word. When the judge entered, his voice cut through the room like a blade. "This is not VH1. This is not entertainment. This is a court of law." His gavel slammed, silencing whispers instantly. The charges were read: Scrappy versus Kirk Frost. Assault and battery. The words echoed through the courtroom, heavy enough to remind everyone that this wasn't reunion stage banter. This was real, and this time, there would be consequences. Scrappy's lawyer rose first. Calm but forceful, he said, "Your Honor, my client was hospitalized after being physically assaulted by Mr. Frost. This isn't about television. This is about accountability. About safety. My client has been humiliated, disrespected, and now endangered by someone who believes his status makes him untouchable." The words landed with weight, sending murmurs through the gallery. Bloggers typed quotes, fans outside screamed when the updates hit Twitter, hashtags spiking once again. Kirk's lawyer stood next, smooth and rehearsed. "Your Honor, this was nothing more than a misunderstanding, a heated exchange blown out of proportion by cameras and editing. This was not an assault. This was dramatization. My client is not a criminal. He is a husband, a father, a businessman. This case has no merit." His words sounded slick, but the whispers told another story. People remembered Kirk's history, remembered the cheating scandals, the arguments, the years of disrespect that Rasheeda endured. They remembered the side of him the cameras never had to manufacture. As the lawyer sparred, Scrappy never broke his stare. His hands folded, jaw tight, eyes burning with quiet determination. And when the judge finally spoke, his decision rippled through the room like a storm. "This case has enough evidence to proceed to trial. Both parties will prepare for testimony." His gavel slammed, and the room erupted. Gasps, shouts, camera flashes. Rasheeda's eyes filled with tears, Yandy and Mendices exchanged a grim look, and young Jock muttered under his breath, "Damn, this real now." And then came the moment that shifted everything. From the back of the courtroom, a familiar voice rang out, cutting through the chaos. Tasha K, dressed in a striking red blazer, her phone in hand, smirk wide enough to fuel headlines for weeks. She stood and declared, "Don't worry, y'all. I got the real receipts. This trial? It's about to get real messy." Heads turned. Cameras flashed. The bailiff ordered her to sit, but it didn't matter, the damage was done. Within minutes, her name trended on Twitter, fan edits popping up with her smirk pasted over fire emojis. Scrappy tightened his jaw, Kirk's face drained of color, and Rasheeda whispered, "Oh my God." With just a few words, the story had shifted again. This wasn't just hospital beds or courtroom charges anymore. This was receipts. This was footage. This was Tasha K promising to burn it all down. The morning of the next hearing looked like chaos dressed in designer clothes. The courthouse steps were lined with paparazzi, cameras clicking non-stop. Fans holding signs that read, "Justice for Scrappy," and others shouting, "Free Kirk." Reporters yelled questions over the noise, trying to catch any reaction. The whole thing looked less like a trial and more like a movie premiere. Scrappy arrived first, walking steady in his black suit, his lawyer at his side. No chains, no big entourage, just the quiet weight of a man ready to face everything head-on. His expression was calm, but his eyes burned with determination. Behind him, Yandy Smith and Mendices Harris slipped into the gallery. They didn't need to say a word. Their presence said enough. Everyone could see whose side they were on. Minutes later, Kirk Frost walked in with Rasheeda. He tried to look unbothered, but the sweat on his forehead betrayed him. His jaw twitched as the cameras caught every nervous glance. Rasheeda held his arm tightly, her loyalty still clear, but her face told another story. The whispers about why she still stood by him cut through the room like knives, and she couldn't hide the heaviness in her eyes. When the judge entered, the gavel slammed, and the room fell silent. "This is not VH1, he warned. "This is not entertainment. This is a court of law." The words cut deep, reminding everyone this wasn't a reunion special, it was real life. Scrappy was called to the stand first. His voice was low, steady, but it carried through the room. "I've been in fights before. I know drama. But this? This was different. I wasn't acting, I wasn't performing. Kirk shoved me so hard I lost my breath. Next thing I know, I'm on a stretcher. And the wildest part? All I wanted was peace. But I almost lost my life." His words cracked at the edges, but he swallowed his pain, refusing to break in front of the cameras. The gallery gasped, bloggers typed furiously, and outside the crowd screamed as updates hit their feeds. Then it was Kirk's turn. He strode to the stand, his voice louder than needed, his tone sharp. "Yeah, we argued, yeah, I shoved him, but we've been doing this for years. It's part of the show." He exaggerating, making it bigger than it is. "I ain't no criminal. I'm a husband, a father, a businessman." His words felt like excuses. He tried to spin it as TV drama, but the crowd wasn't buying it. The history of his scandals loomed over him like a shadow. Just when the tension peaked, the doors burst open. Tasha K stormed in, red blazer flashing under the courtroom lights, folder in one hand, phone recording in the other. She smirked like she was the main event. "Don't worry," she said loud enough for everyone to hear. "I got receipts. Camera 2. The angle nobody seen yet." The room froze. Rasheeda's face turned pale, her grip on Kirk tightening. Kirk's mask cracked for the first time, panic flickering in his eyes. Scrappy leaned back in his chair, smirk tugging at his lips, whispering just loud enough for cameras to catch, "Drop it then." The judge sighed, frustrated. "Ms. K, if you have evidence, submit it properly. This is not your show." But Tasha K wasn't backing down. She waved the folder like a flag. "Oh, I'll submit it. But if y'all play with me, I'll drop it online too. VH1 wanted drama? They ain't seen nothing yet." The whispers erupted instantly. Bloggers tapped like their lives depended on it. Outside, the crowd roared louder as word spread, Tasha K had unseen footage. Within minutes, hashtag spiked again, hashtag camera 2, hashtag receipts on receipts. The judge had no choice but to order a recess. In the hallway, tempers exploded. Yandy stepped toward Kirk, her voice sharp and raw. "This is what I've been saying. You think you untouchable. Now look, Scrappy's in the hospital, and Tasha K about to finish you." Mendici stood right behind her, arms folded, eyes locked on Kirk with a glare that cut deeper than words. Kirk tried to clap back, but Rasheeda yanked his arm, whispering fiercely, "Shut up before you make it worse." Meanwhile, Scrappy stayed quiet in the corner, his arms crossed, his lawyer whispering that they had more than enough evidence to move forward. But Scrappy didn't need to answer. His silence was loud enough. His eyes said everything. This wasn't ending with fists, it was ending with a verdict. When the court reconvened, Tasha K made her way to the witness stand. The gallery buzzed like electricity. She slid a USB across the table, her smirk unshakable. "This right here? Camera 2. The raw truth." The footage rolled on the screen, grainy, shaky, but clear enough to make the room gasp. Kirk leaned in, whispering insults before shoving Scrappy hard, while Rasheeda's voice cried out, "Kirk, stop." And young Jock tried to step in. No edits. No producers. Just reality. The reaction was instant. Gasps filled the courtroom, bloggers hammered their keyboards, and fans outside screamed as clips hit social media. Scrappy sat still, jaw clenched but relief flashing across his face. Kirk's skin went pale, his bravado shattering as he whispered, "How the hell she get that?" Rasheeda shook her head, tears brimming, whispering back, "I told you this was too much." The judge's gavel slammed, his tone heavy. "This footage clearly shows aggression. It will be considered in this case." Witnesses followed. Young Jock squirmed on the stand, admitting, "Yeah, I seen it." Kirk shoved him hard. "That wasn't TV, that was real." His voice cracked as he avoided Kirk's glare, then came Rasheeda. Her mask finally broke. Tears streamed down her face as she said, "I begged him to stop. That night, I knew it was too far. And now, we hear." For the first time, she didn't defend him. Her words landed heavier than the footage. The courtroom went silent. The courtroom was heavy with silence as the judge prepared to deliver his ruling. Every seat was filled, every camera was on, every breath felt held in suspense. Scrappy sat motionless, his eyes forward, his suit crisp, his hands folded like a man who already knew the truth was on his side. Across from him, Kirk Frost shifted uncomfortably, his jaw locked, sweat collecting at his temple despite the cold air of the room. Rasheeda held onto his arm, her grip almost trembling, but even her presence couldn't shield him from what was coming. The judge's voice cut through the tension like a knife. "Mr. Frost, the evidence presented, including the footage, the testimonies, and your own admission, makes it clear. This was not entertainment. This was not television. This was assault." His gavel came down hard. "You are found guilty." The room erupted. Gasps, shouts, reporters scrambling out to break the news first. Outside, chants from fans reached a fever pitch, echoing against the courthouse walls. Some screamed justice for Scrappy, while others yelled in disbelief, "Free Kirk." Hashtags spiked instantly, hashtag Kirk guilty, hashtag Scrappy wins, hashtag LHHATL trial. The judge continued, his tone firm. "Mr. Frost, you are sentenced to probation, mandatory anger management classes, and financial damages to be paid to Mr. Scrappy. Consider this a warning. Any future violent incidents will result in harsher penalties." The gavel slammed again. Ending the trial, for the first time since the fight, Scrappy exhaled deeply, his shoulders loosening as if a weight had finally lifted. He turned toward Kirk, his voice low but sharp enough to cut through the noise. "This ain't just about me. This about all them years you thought you could play with people's lives. Today, the truth checked you. Not me, the truth." Kirk tried to hold his composure, his mouth twisting into a forced smirk, but his eyes betrayed rage. He muttered under his breath, just loud enough for reporters to catch, "This ain't over. Y'all think you won, but I'ma show y'all who really runs this city." His words sounded more like a threat than a promise. And cameras captured every syllable. As the crowd outside surged, Scrappy stepped onto the courthouse steps. Reporters shoved microphones toward him, fans screamed his name, phones flashed from every angle. But his response was short, calm, and unexpected. I just want peace. I'm done with the drama. Let the truth speak for itself. The simplicity of his words carried more weight than any rant ever could. Behind him, Yandy Smith and Mendices Harris walked out, standing firmly in solidarity. Accountability matters, Yandy told a reporter, her tone firm. We can't call it entertainment when people almost lose their life. The clip went viral instantly. Fans praising her for saying what needed to be said. Meanwhile, Rasheeda walked out quietly beside Kirk, tears streaming down her face as he stormed past the cameras. She didn't speak, but her silence spoke volumes. For the first time in years, it looked like even she could no longer defend him. Fans online noticed instantly. Clips of her watery eyes replayed thousands of times with captions like, "She tired," and "Rasheeda finally done." And then, just when the buzz felt like it might settle, Tasha K made her move. Standing off to the side, she raised her phone and started recording herself, her smirk still intact. "Another day, another receipt," she said boldly, the crowd instantly swarming around her. "And guess what? There's still more y'all ain't seen yet. Camera 2 was just the beginning. Trust me, this story ain't over." Her words were like gasoline on an already blazing fire. Blogs snatched the clip within minutes, headlines exploded, Tasha K claims more footage exists. Fans flooded Twitter with speculation, memes, and debates. Some called her the Queen of Chaos, others begged her to drop everything at once. But everyone agreed, if there was more, then this feud was far from finished. The episode closed with images burned into the city's memory, Scrappy standing strong on the courthouse steps, calm in victory. Kirk storming off with fury in his eyes and Rasheeda trailing behind in tears. Yandy and Mendices standing united, their presence amplifying the message of accountability. And Tasha K, waving her phone like a weapon, teasing that the next explosion was already on the way. Atlanta had seen plenty of scandals before, but this wasn't just a storyline anymore. This was real consequences, real pain, and real cracks in relationships that no reunion special could repair. And even with the verdict delivered, everyone knew one thing for certain: the drama wasn't over, it had only just begun.